see on our YouTube page. Okay? So, one second. All right. Uh, Miss Evelyn Smith Booker is a retired television executive and a believer in tenacity, hard work, and living her faith. From humble beginnings in a small eastern North Carolina town to a seat at the table of the number one television station is not a path for the faint of heart. But Evelyn Smith Booker made that journey. On the way, she has had an intriguing and auspicious start in life. Integrated her local high school, was the unofficial valedictorian of her graduating class, and we'll get into that. Set records after record breaking, and just shattering the glass ceiling in the executive space in ad sales. She mentored many fine people along the way as she climbed the ladder. What do we always say? When we rise, we pull up, right? In her book, one of the things that we're going to be talking about is just how she has I can't even talk this morning, blazed this trail. So without further ado, I want to just jump into this session, and I want to welcome you all, every one of you, to ask questions. We will spotlight you, so I will ask you to come off of mute, as well as to, if you have a question, just raise your hand. But also, we want to see your face too, so that you can interact with Miss Booker. Okay, are we ready? Miss Booker, are you ready? Welcome to our Masterclass series.
I'm ready.
Okay, so before we get into, and as you can see, Miss Booker has some pages that she's going to be sharing with us. I'm going to kick it off and just ask the basic questions, but I want this to be interactive. Please make sure that you put some of your questions, and again, come off of mute, so again we can have that live interaction. So Miss Booker, what I
Good
want to
mo-
thank you. Good morning. I want to thank you for being a part of this. It's always important to make sure that we're hearing the voice from those that have blazed the trail. So one of the first questions that I have is, just give us a little bit about who you are so people can have context. So in the bio, I talked about you grew up in Eastern North Carolina, then you made your way to the television industry.
Yes.
Walk us through that, walk us through that journey, just getting there.
Well, first of all, I was the eighth of 10 children born to my parents. We lived on a small farm. Some people would say small, about a 100-acre farm in Eastern North Carolina. And as you stated, my sister and I integrated the school system in 1965. So that's a whole story within itself. The things that we encountered, being the only two Blacks at an all-white school, because in 1965, it was the first year that it was optional. You could still attend the all-Black school, which was 20 miles away, which all of our older siblings had done, or you could elect to attend the school closest to your home. So we chose Nakina High and encountered all kinds of issues, but that's why I wrote the book, A Winner in Spite of, because I was determined that no matter what happened, I was going to be successful. And our parents always taught us too, as people of color, you have to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Let that sink in. Twice as hard for half the recognition. So we've been fighters all of our lives. And living on a farm, we had to fight anyway. But our parents grew everything that we ate, all of our veggies, our potatoes, white and sweet potatoes. She made soap, they made milk, they made butter. Everything was on our farm. So you learn drive and tenacity and persistence when you're in that arena, if you will. But after high school, I went on to, I wanted to mention one thing because she talked about I was not named valedictorian. What happened was My grade point average was 2 points above this white girl, Rosemarie Gore. Her GPA was 2 points above Rhonda Stanley, who was my first cousin. Well, they talked about it and said that nobody would graduate as valedictorian and salutatorian. We'd all three march with honors. So my parents and the other white parents in the community went to the superintendent. They fought it, but they said it was really left up to the principals of the different schools. At any rate, I did not graduate valedictorian, but we three marched with honors. So another determining factor, I am going to make it in spite of. So I went to North Carolina Central, and after I was there for first semester, my mom got really ill, had a massive stroke, and at that time, they didn't have home health care workers. So I left school, came to take care of my mom for 9 months, and then went back in September. So I was her personal nurse. I gave her meds. I shopped. I cooked. I paid bills. This is at 18 years old. So I grew up fast, if you will. And to backtrack 1 minute, I had asthma growing up. So even though we were on the farm, I couldn't work like the other siblings because of my asthma. But at any rate, I came home, took care of her. And my mom said, because of your sacrifice for those 9 months, you will never have to want for anything. So this is what you call paying it forward. And to be honest with you, I have not had to want for anything. I've been so richly blessed that it would blow your mind if you could hear some of the stories. But I graduated from North Carolina Central, still graduated on time with my class by carrying a heavy load, got my degree in English and decided I did not want to teach, but I've always wanted to write. So I told my husband after we had our second daughter, I cannot leave a baby at 3 months. So if we're going to have a second child, I need to be at home for a minimum of 1 year. So that's exactly what we did. And after that, I saw a position at WRAL TV for a writer in the production department, to write creative. So I applied and they hired me right off the bat. And after 6 months, a position came open in sales. I've never sold anything in my life, but I applied for the position in sales as a sales assistant. And they liked my work ethics. So they hired me in sales. And after 6 months there, I learned everything I could, all of the language of the television industry, what a HUT was, what a PUT was, what a DMA, what ratings were, what shares were, and how do you differentiate. So after 6 months, I wrote a letter to management saying, listed are 10 reasons I could be and should be your next account executive. In every given situation, somebody's being sold and they bought it. So as they say, the rest is history, but the rest is her story. So that's just a little bit about me.
Well, Miss Booker,
Yes.
you gave a whole lot right there. So if you don't mind, we're going to just take a little bit of a step back. And because the audience is wide in age, I think a lot of people can be able to see themselves in some of those things that you laid out. But in particular for a lot of our young leaders now, I want to go back to when you talked about not being the valedictorian. And when our leaders today, our young leaders are thinking about when life is unfair, but you've worked hard. You put in and did all of the things that people told you to do. You checked all of the boxes and then some. How would you advise someone going through that today? And what were your thoughts as you were going through it?
My thoughts were, this is just not fair. But you cannot have a pity party when things happen that are negative. One of the things you have to quickly do is turn that negative into a positive. And how do you do that? By telling yourself, getting up every day and looking in the mirror and saying, today is going to be an awesome day. your attitude. There's a slide that I have for them, and it says attitude is the only string that you have to play on. It can make or break a company, a church, or a home. So what you have to do is say, in spite of them being unfair to me, I'm going to still give it 100% of my efforts, and I will be successful. No matter what. So when you do those affirmations and say, today is going to be an awesome day. Today is going to be a wonderful day. Today is going to be an incredible day. And I will accomplish the things on my list that I have today. And that's what you do. Turn that negative into a positive and say, I will win in spite of.
I tell you, your tenaciousness with that, I remember my mom always saying every setback is for a greater comeback.
That's right.
And we all go through it. It's
That's
just
right.
a matter of your attitude and how you face every situation. So, what I want to do, because you have a massive amount of lessons learned through your slides, I just wanted to kick it off so people have a little taste of who you are and how you got to being the groundbreaking broadcast executive that you are today. So I'm going to kick it over to you so that you can walk through your lesson for today for all the people that's watching.
Well, thank you so much. And I am pleased. I'm honored to be here to address our young people on how and why success is yours. I'm going to give them the path to success, the 10 ingredients to ensure success. So success is yours. No matter how you slice it, I want you to think about your current situation. Your current situation does not necessarily dictate your final destination. So success is yours. If you keep God center and first, you have a circle of life that I'm going to go over with you, finding balance, the 10 ingredients, and then success will be yours. Life is like a song. It's up to you and your heart to write the lyrics. With angels surrounding you, God in front of you, love behind you, and faith inside of you, you will never go wrong. This is taken from Psalms 23, and 1. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And because we do have a time limit, I'll go through these, but I want somebody in the audience to just pick a number between 1 and 10. Anybody?
Yeah, and you can put it in the chat, just any number, and we're monitoring the chat. Okay, Maddie put 6.
6. Number 6 says to laugh more. It will keep the energy vampires away. This is in order to have a beautiful life. And I have a copy of this for all of you. One more, and then we'll move on.
3.
Okay.
Number 3.
Okay, 3.
When you wake up in the morning, enter the day with this in mind. The 3 E's, energy, enthusiasm, and empathy. And 3 F's, faith, family, and friends. And I'm going to touch on family a little bit later. And let me tell you, the one I like most is number 4. Spend more time with people over 70 and people under 6. People over 70 and people under 6. You'll be amazed, and you're probably saying, I don't have any extra time to spend any time with anybody right now. But you will. And when you do that, it's going to amaze you. Okay.
So, Ms. Booker, what
Yes.
before we move on, so the question to you? So, what did you learn from someone that you sat down with that was over 70, and what did you learn from someone that was under 6?
Someone over 70 is don't ever give up. Our grandmother would walk. We lived in the country, as I said, would walk the railroad, and we would walk with her, and she would take the bottom of her skirt and fan herself. And so, the older I got, I know now that she was having hot flashes. Okay. And people under 6, I find our grandkids just so incredibly gifted.
Mm.
The 4-year-old said the other day to her sister, who does not like to get her hair combed, she said, "All of that pretty hair, sissy, why don't you do something to distract you?" And sissy says to her, who's 6, "Like what, Maddie?" And she says, "I'll read to you so that you don't think about mommy combing your hair." So you just listen to them and listen to those conversations at 4 and 6 and
Mm.
think, boy, we could learn a lot from that. If we could get a minor distraction to keep us on track, how wonderful would that be?
Yeah.
So you'll learn a lot from people under 6 and people over 70.
You know what? Can I tell you? I'm tossed between 7 and 8 for me,
Okay.
where it's you can't take yourself too seriously. You still have to go in and do the work and be serious about your work, but not comparing yourself to others. It's
Yes.
like those two things for me are pinnacle for how I found success
Uh-huh.
and how I've been able to be balanced. But
Excellent.
I love these.
And if you look at number 9 too, what others think of you is none of your business,
Yes.
because they're not going to help you get to the point in life that you need to be
Hmm.
unless they're an accountability partner or somebody in your family who's pulling for you 100%.
Yeah. And
But
all of
all
these
of
are
these,
just building confidence, right?
that's right. And all of these are good. In fact, I have 11 to 21. And number 21 says, get up, dress up, and show up.
Mm.
Think about that. Get up, dress up, and show up. When you take a shower, you feel totally different than when you hop out of bed. Okay. So I want you
That
to
is.
look over these when you get this after this. And I want you to listen, close your eyes and listen to choice.
Mm.
Choice is the most important tool we have. Everything boils down to choice. We exist in a field of infinite possibilities. Every choice we make shuts an infinite number of doors and opens an infinite number of doors. At any point, we change the directions of our lives by a simple choice. It's all in our hands, our hearts, and our minds. So think about the choices you're making every day, how they're not only going to impact you, but the people around you. Choice. Now, philosophy. I want you to think about this. You can have everything in life you want. You've got 7 spokes here: personal, spiritual, mental, physical, family, career, and financial. If any one of those spokes is out of alignment, guess what? It knocks the others out of alignment. So you're not balanced. But if you look at career, I was in television for 30 years. Okay. And I want to talk just a minute about television. But this is a whole new chapter, as they say, as well. But in television, if you think about the Super Bowl that we just had, a 30-second commercial cost $6.1 million on the network. Think about that. $6.1 million on the network. And the way CBS or NBC or ABC divides it is the local team gets to sell 13 availabilities, if you will, 13 30-second spots. The network gets the other 13. So on a local level, if you get $300,000 for a 30 and you do that times 13 avails, that's a lot of money in one day.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to the network who's getting 6.1 million for one 30-second commercial. You do 6.1 million times 13 avails. The network made some good money. Okay.
So let me just pause there for a second. So let me
Yes.
just poll. Outside of I see Stephanie and Paul. You cannot raise your hand, but anyone that's under the age of 18 years old. So I see a few of you, and those that's watching via YouTube. How much do you think the most expensive ad has been paid for just 10 seconds? You can put it in the chat.
$10 million.
You said 10 million? Okay, do we have another? Okay, I see something in the chat. That's a very good answer, Maddie. A lot. You covered the whole range. Okay, we have anyone else? I don't know the answer, by the way, but I know I know it's a lot. But I was going to actually ask Miss Booker.
Yes, and I was going to say that's a good point. You brought up the 10-second commercial. The way the station designed the rates, a 10-second is 60% of a 30-second rate. Okay, 10 seconds are designed for one succinct idea. We're having a sale tomorrow, 9A to 4P. 30 seconds, if you get a 60-second commercial, that's double the 30-second rate. So if we're selling Good Morning America for $1,000, if somebody wants to buy a 60-second commercial, that's going to be 2,000 times 2. Okay. And then a 10-second is 60% of the 30-second rate. So to answer your question, it ranges. There's a range. If you buy a spot at 6 o'clock in the morning, you only have 50,000 eyeballs watching. If you buy a spot at 6 p.m., when people are coming in from work and watching the 6P news, you've got 400,000 people working. So we price the station based on supply and demand. The more people that watch a program, the more we can afford to charge for that program.
And it's probably even more than that, especially with the live stream and the 24-hour cycle, it seems. And the reason why I asked that question, I just want you all to understand, just going into the television industry, I mean, just the whole scale around it, especially from a STEM perspective. I mean, there's a lot of technology that has driven the change from the traditional way in which, television has operated before. So Ms. Booker talked about the 6 a.m. So you have the 6 to 12, and then the 6 p.m. and then you have the 11 o'clock news. So
Right.
when we were growing up, 11 p.m. I think that was kind of the prime. And now I'm not in the television industry, but I don't know if that's considered to be prime because you have 24 cycles now. And you also have streaming. So
Right.
the number of jobs that you can get has just expanded exponentially. So we're going to touch on that in a bit. But Ms. Booker, I'm going to turn it back over to you for you to go through your slides.
Okay. So bottom line here, if all of these 7 spokes are in alignment, you can have anything in life you want. Okay. Change your thinking. I had this incredible motivational speaker address my sales team once, and he had been out of the country speaking to a Fortune 500 company and said he could not wait to get home to talk to his wife and 2 beautiful kids. So he lands in Raleigh-Durham and they greet him. And he comes out and she says, as soon as he gets in the car, now remember, John, today at 12 noon, you got to take little John for his baseball practice. And at 4P, you got to take Anna for her piano lessons. He said, I got to. That's an obligation. What if my wife positioned it as I get to take little John for baseball practice and I get to take Anna for her piano lessons? That's an opportunity. So when you think of I get to and all the positive connotations that come with I get to, that means I have a wife, I have beautiful kids, they're talented kids, I can drive, I have my eyesight, I've got a card I can put gas in my car, I have a car. The list goes on and on when you think of I get to do something. So effective today, I want you to change your thinking from I got to go to this class this morning to I get to go to this class this morning. Make sense? It brings a whole new meaning when you get to do something. That's another opportunity. You're still alive. You have the activity of your limbs. Again, the list goes on and on. So I get to, effective today, everybody. Finding balance in your life. I want you to regularly reflect and recharge. I need you to prioritize. Everybody needs to get a certain amount of rest every night. If there's something on your plate today that you can delegate, do that. If there's something on your plate that you can totally eliminate, get rid of completely, do that. And then variety adds spice and balances to your life. And no matter how young you are or how old you are, work in a workout. Exercise is so, so important for your overall health. I'm going to pose a quick question. What is the number one health problem in America? A guess.
COVID.
COVID right now.
That's a very good answer.
That is for the last 24 months, right?
It's definitely a leading one for right now, but overall, anyone you can put in. Okay, Arlenis, did I pronounce your name correctly? I did. Okay, good. She said obesity. Do we have anyone
Obesity?
else?
Cancer.
Cancer?
Okay.
Outstanding.
I see heart disease, stress, mental health issues, diabetes. Okay, so we have a list.
These are all good and they're all excellent answers. But what is
Depression? I'm sorry, Miss Booker. There was one more that came in. Depression.
Depression. That's
Mhm.
right. So you all have given outstanding answers. So when you Google tonight and find out the top 10 health issues or health problems, you're going to see you're right on target. But what's the leading cause of these? All of these. And I know some of you are going to say what we eat and what we drink. And are we getting plenty of rest? Those are all pertinent questions. But the number one leading cause is stress. You think
Yeah.
about people who are suffering from high blood pressure, stress. Okay? I encourage you to look it up. So, how do we reduce stress, stay focused, and find balance? 3 huge questions. To stay focused, you got to keep the big picture in mind. Dr. Taylor asked me earlier, when all of those negative things were happening to me, how did I feel? It doesn't matter what people think or say or do to you. You've got to keep the big picture in mind. Where is it that I'm headed? And what do I need to do to get there? Set goals that excite you, a plan of action, track your progress, get you an accountability partner and somebody who's going to be honest with you. They're not going to tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear to get from point A to point B. Okay? Use time as your servant. I'm sorry. Take the initiative. Confront difficulties boldly and anticipate obstacles. This is a long list, but any of these slides, we can get them to you, okay? Coach John Wooden, who was the head coach at UCLA, had success, the 7-point creed. But I want you, this is the first assignment I'm giving you. I want you to write your 7-point creed for success. This is what he said, and he was an outstanding coach. Be true to yourself. Help others. Make each day your masterpiece. Drink deeply from good books. When you read, you're going to be amazed at how much you can glean from other experiences. Build shelter against a rainy day. Make friendship a fine art. And pray for guidance and give thanks for your blessings each day. When you wake up in the morning and you've got your eyesight, guess what? You're blessed. because not everyone can see. And when you have the activity of your limbs, I'll be 71, my birthday, and I can still walk and I still exercise. And my husband and I enjoy traveling now that, the pandemic is lifting a little bit. But these are the kinds of things that you can write in your 7-point creed. Mm-hmm. Look at this. What is a goal? The man who succeeds has a program. He fixes his course and adheres to it. He lays his plans and executes them. He knows what he wants, where he's going, and he knows how he's going to get there. He loves what he's doing, and he loves the journey that's taken him to the object of his desires. He is bubbling over with enthusiasm. There's that enthusiasm again. And he is filled with zeal. This is the man who succeeds. What was my question to you? Success is yours. Is it yours? You better believe it is. Here are my 10 ingredients to ensure success. If you were to talk to another motivational speaker, they'd have probably 10 totally different ones. But this is according to Evelyn Booker. This is what has worked for me. The first and most important ingredient is God. Every morning at 6 o'clock when I was working, I had a 6 a.m. appointment with God. I would pray, I would read my Bible, and I would tell God that I give this day, I give my body, my mind, my soul, my all to you. Use me as one of your earthen vessels, okay? And then when I would get on the premises of my work, I would say, God, I dedicate this building and all of its occupants to you today. Use me as one of your earthen vessels. That's always my line. I want to be available to help others. And I can tell you, when you help others, it comes back. Everything is cyclical. When you read my book, there's a section, a whole chapter, in fact, on paying it forward. And these are the first 5 people that I hired at Capital Broadcasting once I became a manager. They've all gone on to bigger markets, and I hope I have time to get into market ranks. And they're doing
I do have a question for you, if I don't mind.
Yes.
Someone had asked, Miss Evelyn, did you always know that you wanted to be in the television business? And how did you discover your goal?
I always knew that I wanted to write. And ever since I was in the first grade, my first grade teacher, by the way, who is still living, Mrs. Spalding, and they're so pleased with my book because I mentioned my elementary school teachers. But yes, I've always wanted to write because I had all of these thoughts in my head. And then when I was in television for all of those years and experienced the kinds of things, the prejudices that still exist, and having a manager who was, I mean, I still get chills when I think about that. I gotta move on. But to answer your question, yes, I've always wanted to write. And now that I've had an opportunity to put my thoughts in a book, I can see more and more books coming because I'd like to do a children's book. But how I got into television was I applied for that job as a writer in the creative services, they call it now, productions department. And they loved my writing. They loved my ideas. That's just one of my gifts from God, is that He gives me creative ideas and one-liners. One of the programs there, they used to call the Sister Gary Show. And I walked by the office one day, and they were sitting in Cindy's office, and they said, we want a new name for the show. And I said, what time does it come on? And she said, 8 a.m. And I said, well, let's call it Spiritual Awakening. And everybody went, oh my goodness, that's awesome. And guess what? It's still called that today. So wow. Yes, I've always wanted to write, and this was my opportunity to start writing. And television now is her story. We broke all kinds of records. And if you walk into the station today, WRAL TV, I was the salesperson of the year, more than anybody in history, and salesperson of the month more than anybody in history at Capitol Broadcasting. Does it answer? I think she froze.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Did that answer you?
Oh, yes, yes. And I said, and you still hold that record still to this day, correct?
Yes, yes, yes. And high self-esteem, you've got to think positively about you. What you think reflects who you are. It tells what your character is about. So you've got to think highly of yourself, not to the point that you're arrogant or boastful, because God loves humility, but you've got to think highly of yourself. And without getting into all of these, vision is the art of seeing things invisible. Mm-hmm. Visualize yourself being an architectural engineer. Visualize yourself being a doctor, an attorney, whatever it is. And be a lifelong learner. Technology is changing by the second. And this is my second assignment to you. I want you to write these 3 words down: metaverse, metaverse, Bitcoin, and crypto. And over the next 2 weeks, for all of my young people on here, I want you to read at least 10 minutes a day on these 3 subjects: metaverse, Bitcoin, and crypto. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to follow up with Dr. Taylor to see what your progress is, what you've learned by spending 10 minutes a day learning about technology. That's what this lifelong learner is. And I'm going to address appearance just to move on. Appearance. If you're interviewing with a Fortune 500 company or a mom and pop local store on the corner, you've got 60 seconds to make that first and lasting impression. 60 seconds. That's 1 minute, guys, to make a first and lasting impression. So you've got to be impeccably dressed. You've got to have your presentation in tip-top shape, and you've got to look the part, because they're looking for the entire package. If you come in looking sloppy, your presentation is sloppy, your dress is sloppy, your hair is not combed, guess what? The next person that they interview will have their ducks in a row. And who do you think is going to get the job? Doesn't matter about the knowledge, because you're going to be a representative of that company. And when you're on the phone, whether it's Zoom or whether you're in person, they're sizing you up. Okay. So your appearance makes a world of difference. And then I'm sorry.
If I can just, so this is something that we spend a lot of time on as well, especially within HSCF, because we do our venture capital STEM boot camps, and they have to pitch for funding. And so, and Maddie knows, Maddie, we've talked about this, how you show up to pitch. It makes a huge difference in how they even see you. Precisely. And whether or not your project gets funded or not. So no, excellent points.
Outstanding. And then family. I don't care how high on the corporate ladder you get. Don't ever forget from whence you've come. If it were not for your parents, you wouldn't be here. And if it were not for their parents, your parents wouldn't be here. So treat them with respect, no matter what. Okay? And then attitude. I talked about attitude. Attitude really does determine your altitude. Where is it that you want to go? And it's the only string that you can play on. Attitude is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Keep that in mind. So if you come in with a nasty attitude, thinking that I'm entitled, you owe this to me, automatic X, you out of here. Okay?
Absolutely. Then, never burn bridges.
That's
young or old, never burn bridges.
Exactly. And I'm going to keep believing in yourself as the last thing, even though that's my number 9. Okay. Goals or dreams with deadlines. Let that sink in for a second. Goals or dreams with deadlines. You must dream. You must have goals. I said this earlier. Vision is the art of seeing things invisible. Swift wrote, but the bravest are surely those who have the greatest vision of what is before them, glory and danger alike, and yet notwithstanding, go out to meet it. You must set goals for yourself, both short-term and long-term, and periodically check to see where you are in terms of reaching those goals. If you're not where you want to be, what do I need to do differently? What am I doing well? Those things that you're doing well, keep doing. But things that are not going well, check and make sure you change them. If you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you get there? Planning is the roadmap to guide you to your destination, but motivation, you've got to stay motivated. Whether anybody else is motivating you or not, motivation is the fuel that gets you there. And these are just some suggested readings. You can come up with your own list, okay? And here's a stress management program for you. Attitude, positive thinking. I said earlier to Dr. Taylor, change that negative to a positive as quickly as you can. Talk positively to yourself. Plan some fun and make an effort to stop negative thoughts altogether. And then for relaxation, I'm going to drop down to that. Use relaxation techniques. It might be listening to gospel music. It might be listening to jazz, whatever it takes to kind of get your mind off what has gone on for the day. That's what you do. Okay. And again, if there's any slide in here that you like, just let us know and we'll get it to you. Now, I want everybody to relax because we're going to open the floor for questions. And I want you to close your eyes, sit straight up in your chair. Okay. Inhale deeply. And I want you to think of the most beautiful place you've ever gone on vacation. You got that front and center? Eyes closed. And I want you to listen. There may be days when you get up in the morning and things aren't the way you had hoped they would be. That's when you have to tell yourself that things will get better. There are times when people will disappoint you and let you down. But those are the times when you must remind yourself to trust your own judgments and opinions, to keep your life focused on believing in yourself and all that you're capable of. There will be challenges to face and changes to make in your life, and it's up to you to accept them. Constantly keep yourself headed in the right direction for you. It may not be easy at times, but in those times of struggle, you will find a stronger sense of who you are. So when the days are filled with frustration and unexpected responsibility, remember to believe in yourself and all you want your life to be, because the challenges and changes will only help you find the goals that you know are meant to come true for you. Now open your eyes. I'm a firm believer, and this has been my philosophy, just like Henry Ford. If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. And I believe that you can. Success is yours. And this is my recipe, my path towards success for you. Success is yours. Take it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Booker. I think we have time just for, because I want to make sure that there's a question that gets answered. Someone had asked, how long were you in the television business?
For 30 years. 30 years.
So there you have it. It's, I can't thank you enough. I think the points that you made were spot on. It's indicative and it's in alignment with everything that we talk about within our organization, with all the speakers that come through, but also the programming that we offer. It is just in alignment and so invaluable. And hopefully you all will just take a moment and sit back and really marinate on some of the things that Ms. Booker talked about today. Some of you are so young,
Mhm.
Your journey hasn't started to go through some of the challenges, especially when we start talking about stress. But within school, there's a lot of homework that you have, subjects that you're going to study that's unfamiliar with you or anyone around you to be able to help. Over the past 3 years, we had the pandemic. How are you going to, advance and excel? Some have tried to figure out, how am I going to get this last class in that I need in order for it to be a part of my college admission, so that you can set your grades and your standards high.
And that was one thing I was going to make. That was one point I wanted to make. When the teacher gives an assignment, how many of you procrastinate? If you've got 2 weeks to complete that assignment, do you wait until 3 days before it's due? Or do you start that assignment on day one to give yourself ample time to complete the assignment? Those people who procrastinate and wait until 2 days before it's due, in all probability, their project is not going to be as good as the person who started it in time and worked on it daily to
That's
perfect
right.
it. So do
That's
not
right.
procrastinate.
Do not. It's still so much of your joy, and it causes so much more stress. Well, Miss Booker, I want to thank you again. So for those who are on, we have a gift for you. So we're going to do a spin the wheel, and there will be two recipients of her book, A Winner in Spite of. And all of the things that she talked about today, the things that you saw on the slides, it's also in her book. But she also has some powerful stories that we weren't able to get into, that you're going to find. You're going to find yourselves entrenched in the book and just flipping the pages, and make sure that you take the notes. So, Valeria, can we bring the wheel up?
Yes.
And while we're doing that, I just want to remind everyone, we have our camps that's available, again, with our partnership with Smithfield Foods. It is free for young ladies in Virginia and in North Carolina. We're going to be closing the application process very soon. And we have about 10 seats left, just 10. And or maybe nine, but between 10 to 9. So it's hurry up, fill out the application. We have 2 weeks that we're going to be spending in UNC Chapel Hill for free. The entire program is free of charge.
Hmm.
We have a hackathon that we're going to be doing later this year. And all of this is a part of you building your self esteem, your confidence, and you get a chance to win money. So we have 30,000 in scholarships that we're giving away this
Wow.
year. But you got to sign up. That's the only ticket, and that's the only thing that you have to do. Just sign up. And as Miss Booker said, procrastination, don't procrastinate on this. Okay, so we're spinning the wheel. Okay, I wish we had some music. The Madison. Okay. So you're gonna be a recipient of the book, and let's do it one more time. So okay, so we can remove Madison's name. Okay, so this is uh oh. Dr. Paul Besson.
Oh, wow.
Dr. Paul Besson, I don't know if you can come off of mute and we can see your face. You're a recipient of the book.
Hello. Well, great. Thank you. I'm happy to get such a book. I spent 25 years with NBC and 6 or 7 years, the last 6 or 7 years with ABC. So happy to hear from you.
Oh, thank you so much. You can identify with all of the things I was saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wonderful.
And thank you so much to for all of the comments you all have written. I just looked at chat.
Yes. So we'll make sure that you get a copy of this. And again, I just want to thank you again, Ms. Booker, for just your time, your dedication, more importantly, in honoring you for Women History Month. You have blazed a trail. You have cracked open doors and icebergs and made sure that other women can walk through.
Yes.
And hopefully, anyone who's looking at this afterwards, I implore you to try to get a copy of her book. More importantly, not just get a copy of her book, but she's willing to have a conversation with you. Reach out
Yeah.
to her as well.
Mhm.
She's filled with a wealth of knowledge and advice. So I want to thank you all again. We have our next masterclass is coming up in April around finance and investment. So when she talked about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, we're going to be talking about that. So we're going to have a masterclass and how you look for, how you find gold, how you build those metaverses, and yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. This is exciting. Thank you again for joining, and I will see you back here next month.
Thank you.